All right, guys, let's get started. Anthony, why don't you get the show started?
All right, guys. Anthony Angelillo, branch manager over here at Paramount Residential Mortgage Group, CEO, founder of Tag Team Nation, top originator of the year 2020, shooting for 2021, co-host of Damage Control. Been doing this 18 years, just got out of a closing at 8:30 this morning, and truly blessed for what we do, guys. Like it's an amazing thing to have a smooth close in and have people around you that actually really know what they're doing, and very blessed to be a lender and part of this show. I'm pretty pumped to talk to Yari. We spoke with her on Clubhouse, and she's a smart cookie. So with that, I'll introduce Melinda.
Hi, guys. Melinda Grimaldi, real estate and title attorney at Grimaldi Law Firm. And officially today, we launched the Closers Title Company.
Nice.
Woohoo! Today, April 1st, I put that deadline out and we did it. So I'm super excited about that. I'm also super excited to be part of this award-winning Damage Control. I got to keep the award. I guess I'll keep it for now. I'll give you custody of it in the next week. But super excited to have been awarded Podcast of the Year by the Miami Board of Realtors. So we're excited about that. And super excited about our next guest here today, Yara. I had the pleasure of working with Yara now in a few deals, and I love working with her, super positive. And the more I speak to her, the more like legit I realize she is. Not that I thought you weren't, but like, I'm like, wow, she has so many amazing strategies and tools and things. So that's why we wanted to have you on the show, so that you could share some of those nuggets that we were starting to unwrap the other day on Clubhouse to share with everybody else, because it's really an industry where we should be learning from each other and not trying to recreate the wheel and all that stuff. So Yara, please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll just start chit-chatting.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me, both of you. And I'm super excited to be here. I am the owner of the South Florida Homes Group. We're powered by Keller Williams Realty. So I've been with Keller Williams for the past 5 years, and been in the business for the past 5 years. So as soon as I got licensed, I came and joined KW because I knew that I needed to make money yesterday, and they were going to be the ones to teach me. We are on pace to close 75 transactions this year. I have a team with my buyer's agent, my TC. We are in the process of looking for another admin at the moment. And yeah, super excited to be here.
I love it. Thank you so
75.
much.
Wow, 75 in 5 years is badass, man.
Listen, I was talking to her about the challenge a couple weeks ago, and she goes, yeah, we already do that like every day, like at least 10 calls a day. I'm like, that's why you had the numbers that you have, because it's super important. If you don't make your calls, you don't fill your pipeline. If you don't fill your pipeline, you're not closing. So
yeah.
Good stuff there. So for any of you that are watching, whether you are in our sales challenge or not, 10 calls a day, people, it makes sense. Like there's math to it of why it's so important. Connect with 10 people a day and you will definitely see the benefits in your business. So let's get right into it. I want to talk about first what we started to talk about a little bit on Clubhouse, which was your presentation. What'd you say? The presentation to the appraisers. Yes. I thought that was I've never heard any other agent do it or talk about it. I think it's a great strategy. So why don't you go over a little bit about what you do when you have a listing, which you have many of, and I know we've been working with a lot of your sellers. So what are you doing to get those properties appraised at as best as you can impact that?
And what did you inspire? Like, why did it inspire you to do that and implement that? That's really what I want to hear.
Well, I think it's important from the beginning of taking any listing to think like an appraiser, right? Oftentimes I see agents thinking like sellers, which in this market especially, we're thinking greedy. We're not thinking, strategic. So go into any listing appointment thinking like an appraiser. Now, how does an appraiser appraise properties? They're looking at, bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, lot square footage, features, benefits, things like that, upgrades, non-upgrades. So when I go into a listing appointment, I go in with a range in mind. I don't go in with an exact dollar amount because one, we're looking to, collaborate with our clients. And two, we want to make sure that we're educating our clients and letting them know this is what can happen if you price your property at this price. So going in with that, and then going into when you get your multiple offers, especially in this market, you're getting multiple offers and you're wanting to know that this property is going to appraise. And if it doesn't, we need to take X amount above appraisal value. So I already have a good idea in mind of where I think a property will appraise. So I need to know that we're going to get, $20,000 above in cash, and I need to see the cash. So meeting with an appraiser is super important. And I'm not going to lie, in my first year or two, I was just like, oh, meet with an appraiser. Like, I don't have time for that. I need to get another deal. But I slowed down, and I started realizing that meeting with the appraiser is very important and very crucial. It's even crucial in this market, even though things may get appraised, may not get appraised, that you meet with the appraiser and you give him all of the value. I'm starting to see more and more Miami appraisers coming into Broward County, because we work Broward County mainly. We work Broward County instead of Miami-Dade. And if you have a Miami-Dade appraiser coming into my Broward County, and they're not mostly working this area, they don't really know what's going on in the different subdivisions, what's around the subdivisions, just the different infrastructures and things that that can go into pricing a property. So one, I always ask, have you worked the area when I talk to the appraiser? So I can get a feel. And then don't be afraid to ask them where they think the value is going to come in at. It's super important that you do that while you're on the phone with them, scheduling the appraisal appointment, because they're going to kind of give you an estimate of where they think, the property will come in at. I've also requested for an appraisal to be reassigned, because I didn't think that a specific appraiser had knowledge of the area. So also don't be afraid of that. So when we do meet with the appraisers, we are giving them a packet. The packet really, all it states is one, a thank you letter. So thanking them for coming out and accommodating to our schedule. Usually we're accommodating to their schedule, but I still want to put that out. And the letter also states all the different things that are available in the packet. So what I make sure to include is features and benefits. So any updates that have been done to the home, anything, like it could be like removal of popcorn ceiling. I'm still going to make sure that is included in the packet. And we're also including, if we've received multiple offers, I want to make sure I include all the multiple offers that were received, especially in this market. We've gotten like 20, 30 offers on a property. The appraisers need to know that the value is there. Even though it's an opinion, they need to know that these people are willing to pay X amount for these homes. And it's super important that you highlight that. The next thing would be to highlight the BCPA, the tax appraiser sheet. So depending on what county you're in, and making sure that you've got the square footage and everything properly on the tax appraiser's website. So we print that out. We print out the comps. And then in addition to the comps from the MLS, I'm also printing out the tax sheets for each property, because they need to see on the MLS it stated this, and on the tax sheet it also stated this, so they can align the square footage in the bedroom and bathrooms. What else are we putting in? Hold on, I have my packet here. So in addition to that, we're putting in upgrades. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. Any multiple offers as well. So
I think that's super important in today's market to put the other offers in, because if you have 30 people with above asking price,
yep.
And it's happening, it's for real, it's legitimate, like that's the market that we're in. So I think that does impact what a property is valued at. A value is like, what will somebody pay for it almost, yeah, you'll have like industry standards, but really it's like, at the end of the day, the value of something is what people are going to pay for it. like what will be paid for, you know?
So
Yeah.
what do you put on that thank you letter? Like what general, like, I'm curious, like what is the it's the thank you letter to the appraiser for doing his job or her job?
Yeah, I can tell you really quickly. It just says, I want to thank you for taking the time to appraise our listing today and for accommodating to our schedule. I really appreciate it. I hope to be able to help you in any capacity I can to ensure the appraisal goes smoothly. Attached are a list of features of the blah, 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 whatever is attached. Should you have any questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to give me a call. I would love to assist.
Awesome. Wow.
And you print this whole thing out. So sometimes if you're like 40 offers, you're printing a big stack then, or are you just printing the first
Well,
page?
just the first page. We're not printing all 12 of the as is.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. And so what is their reaction when you give them this package?
Yeah, I'm curious. What do they say?
Typically it's just thank you.
Okay.
Because I feel like they're expecting it. I don't know. I have the kind of sense that they're expecting me to come in with something. So I hand it to them, and get out of their way. I don't make any small conversations or small talk with them just because I feel like they already have the idea, like we're gonna try to like schmooze them and try to like, become like best friends with them. That's not my style. Like I go in and I'm very business and professional, and I want to make sure that we, hold that with them and just give them the packet and just get out of their way. Go do what you need to do if you need help.
Let them do their thing.
Yeah.
So I love that. That's great. You also mentioned in the beginning that you make sure you set up the expectations with the seller of what would happen if, things don't appraise, et cetera, et cetera. So
Love that.
I know that's setting expectations with our clients, I think is one of the most crucial things, whether it's buyer or seller, about the process, about,
Yeah.
outcomes and timeframes. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what kind of things you kind of pep talk the seller about when you have a seller, when it's your listing?
Well, if it's a seller that is wanting to like overprice their property, I'm going to tell them like, listen, this is your property at the end of the day. I'm just here as your advisor, but I need you to know this is what's going to happen. If we get an offer, they're going to agree to the offer. And the appraisal comes in and it's super low. You're going to either have to come down in price, or the buyer is going to come up in price. Now, depending on what the price point is, I know between 250 to 350, sometimes even 400, these buyers don't have additional money. They're spending like their last dime on this house. So I'll let them know, like, we may or may not be able to bring the buyer up with cash. So this is what can happen. So that way they're well aware. And then I do this multiple times. I have these conversations multiple times, because you can tell somebody this the one time and they will not listen to you. They will not remember. They'll be like, I don't remember you telling me that. So we have these conversations over and over again at the listing appointment, before we list the property. If they still are stubborn and not want to come down in price or not want to meet us in price. Now, in this market, it's obviously a little bit different. Sellers are getting their price and they're getting above asking, so that's another story. But in a normal market, we're setting these expectations up at every point. And then let's say we have a market that our inventory is about like 2 months. We're making sure that we put in our listing agreements that they need to adjust the price within 2 weeks if we don't have any offers and we have X amount of showings.
I love that Melinda setting the expectations to the appraiser, saying, look, this is the justification of why the value is there. She's presenting the value, and whether they like it or not, there's value in that property for X reasons, right? So that is you're twisting it, and I love it, man. The way you think is like a consumer, and that's probably why you're closing 75 deals. But I mean, the way you operate and think is impressive in 5 years.
You have to think like a consumer. I think a lot of times what gets in the way of realtors is they think like a realtor. They're like, no, but this is what's supposed to happen. But really it's not. Like, it's the consumer that dictates what's going to close. Are they willing to do this? Are they willing to do that? Melinda had to get involved with a transaction a few weeks ago. The buyer, even at the closing table, we had the listing, wanted to negotiate $3,000 off for for a walkthrough. And I'm like, no, but you know,
Which
if
were
the seller-
things that were already there, you know,
Right.
but then once furniture is removed and things are taken out of the property and it's
And you see
empty,
the things that are
you can
behind
see things.
hmm So, I mean, at the end of the day, we have to get out of our own way. We can't say, no, we can't allow this. If the seller is okay, the buyer is okay, let's make the deal happen.
Yeah, for sure. That same deal was the one I even mentioned this one to you, Anthony, that how much did the buyer agree to pay above asking?
38,000.
38,000. And guess what?
Hey, are you
It was
serious?
short like 38,000 or like very close to that. And then he was
So,
trying to like maneuver his way out of it.
I
At one
mean,
point, the buyer.
this was a perfect example. The property was not supposed to appraise more than 265. And I told the seller this from jump. Like I told him, I was like, this house is not more than 265. He even wanted to list it at 280 and get 300,000 for it. Like he knew that this market, it was going to bring him that. Had we not had this specific buyer, he would not have gotten over 280. But this specific buyer was willing to pay $38,000 above appraisal. And it appraised at 265. It appraised exactly where I told him it was going to, even with the packet, with everything. So that's why we had to guarantee that the buyer would have the money to come to closing. And he still wanted to, to negotiate how much he was putting above appraisal. So
yeah, it's something,
Has
right?
any appraiser ever rejected your package saying, I don't want it? No, thanks. I've got my own.
No.
Interesting. Interesting, man. Wow.
So
That's
good, right?
extremely impressive. No, it's the finesse and the technique and the delivery. And for you to think all of that on your own is truly impressive, man.
it's not on my own. Let me tell you, I learned from the best of the best. So that's why I pride myself on being a KW agent, is because I can call a mega agent in Tennessee and just say, hey, what are you guys doing? I can call an agent in California and say, what are you guys doing? I can go to the office next door and ask them what they're doing. So we're all open and we're able to share ideas with each other on a much higher level. So it's not me that came up with these brilliant ideas. I ripped and duplicated it. And it's working. So
There's definitely no need to recreate the wheel, right? If you just can tweak someone else's wheel, right? So it's super important. Make it yourself, make it your own, right? Your own spin on it. But definitely a strategy that they even say that with lawyers, like don't try to create a new contract from scratch. Go find one that's similar and tweak that one, right? So it's same thing in anything, even in business. So I love that. How are you seeing, we spoke about this a little bit do you have any other strategies with the above market price kind of contracts that we're dealing with right now in how to handle it if you're on the buyer side or the seller side?
on the buyer side, I mean, all we're really doing to get contracts accepted is shortening the loan approval window, which I have to obviously make sure that the lender is able to do that or come with a loan approval in hand. So I asked the lenders, I'm like, can you get them fully underwritten in order for us to just void that contingency? And lots of times you have to waive the appraisal contingency. That does not mean that you're waiving an appraisal. It means that if the appraisal comes back short, that they have the money to put above that to meet the contract price. I'm not finding a lot of buyers can do that for the 300,000 to 400,000 price point, but above the 400,000, especially if they're relocating, they're coming from New York, they're coming from Chicago, they've got cash, so they're totally willing to do that because they want desperately to get out of the states that they're in. So that's what we're all competing with. The local buyers are competing with the out-of-town buyers, and those out-of-town buyers are willing to do that. So it's tough for the local ones to, have that ability to do so because they're going into a starter home, or they just don't have the funds. So waiving appraisal, loan approval, deadlines waived, inspection period shortened to like 3 days, which my inspector.
There's really no need for a 15-day inspection period, guys.
Oh, actually, I was just talking. So over the weekend, I went to California and we had like a mini mastermind with other agents. So a few agents met up in Sonoma, and one of the agents was telling me what she does is she gets her inspector to come in at the showing and run through the house in like 15 to 20 minutes and give her the breakdown on like big ticket items, like the roof, the AC unit, the water heater. If you are able to collaborate with your inspector and get that done in the showing and have the buyer pay like half the price of what an inspection really is, you can make sure that you can either waive the inspection or have like a 2 to 3 day inspection to where you don't have to like draw it out. And the only thing is there's so many buyers right now, the inspectors are like, you know, up to their neck. So they're like, give us a few days. And I can't give you a few days. So maybe I can bring you in on a showing and then bring you back in 2 days later, you know, if the contract is accepted. So
that's a cool strategy. It also depends on the, like the feel of the buyer, right? Because some buyers are more, like, I didn't even really need to do an inspection, right? Because my family's in the construction industry. Like, they already knew the problems before we get it. But we're like, let's not be stupid. And let's actually, as an attorney, a real estate attorney, and doing closings every day, I asked an agent that I know, I go, give me your toughest, like, deal killing inspector. Let me see if I can, like, you know, knock off a couple bucks. And I did, but not a lot, because there was nothing really hidden. It was what it was.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's like for that, you know, we were able to kind of rush through the inspection period being more, but if you have those new time home buyers, you want to make sure they feel comfortable with that option, right? Of
Right.
not having the full appraisal. But it's definitely a good strategy to present and say, we could try this out if you have an inspector that's willing to.
I mean, and you can always advise them in the beginning. So when we do buyer consultations, I let them know what's happening in the market. I'm not going to bullshit you. Like, this is what, you know, this is what's happening. And at first they'll be like, no, I bought a home like 7 years ago. Like, I have this one client relocating from Chicago. She's like, I bought a home and it was like a buyer's market. Like, are we able to get a deal? No, you're not able to get a deal, but you'll see, you know, in time when your second, third, fourth offers don't get accepted. And that's exactly what happened. 2, 3 offers later. And they're like, oh, wow, you weren't lying. Like, this really is like, you know, a competitive market. So even if you warn them, they won't get it until they go through the, you know, the motions, and then they finally get competitive. And that's when you start seeing them like, okay, we need to now void inspection. I'm like, oh, you want to void inspection? Okay.
Is that the case now? Okay.
That's similar to the loan side too. I just had 2 couples re-pull credit. And I was looking at it, I'm like, look, the numbers aren't going to change. You know, your buying power is not going to go higher unless you add a co-applicant. People don't want to hear the truth, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's straight up. They don't want to hear the truth, and they want what they want, bottom line.
Yep.
Let me ask you a question. Let's pivot here. What do you think sets yourself apart from other agents? 5 years in the business, 75 closings. What are you doing to level up your game? Like, what do you do daily?
Shut up and listen.
Wow. All right.
A lot of agents kind of like talking about themselves. And I hate doing this, like these like panelist style things where I'm talking about myself. I don't like doing it, but I'll do it to help another agent. So, you know, just getting into conversation with your clients, like listen to what they want, you know, out of the transaction, and educating. And so, yeah, just communication is number one for me.
We have a question from the audience. Where does most of your business come from?
So our top 3 lead sources right now are database, agent to agent referrals, and online leads. We're converting online leads at a very high rate.
Love that. All that is all separate, like, conversations, right? Like, each one of those we can go into. we can offshoot into each one of those in conversations.
Elaborate on the agent to agent. I got it here. Just a little.
You do this really well. So let's talk about that.
What do you do?
So Keller Williams has a huge network of agents. We've got 180,000 agents worldwide. I leverage that, and I treat those agents, my referral partners, like their clients. So during the holidays, we send them out cards. We send them out anytime they refer us business, even if it doesn't lead to anything. I'm sending them a thank you card, box of chocolates. You know, really like treat them like they are your clients, like love on them like you would love on your sphere. and look out for them because they're also needing business too. So I always make sure I go out of my way to connect an agent that needs somebody in a specific area. So I've managed to kind of, just through conferences and Facebook, social media, get to know, other agents, get to know their families too, because they're going to put all their business on Facebook. And so little by little, you create relationships with these people. Don't be afraid to travel. Don't be afraid to spend money. My first year that I traveled, I went to Keller Williams family reunion and I spent like $2,000 and I was just like, oh my God, it's a lot of money, but I got 3 deals out of that. So it paid back, tenfold.
For sure. Any agent that I know that is doing this strategy, the referral, agent referrals, and going to these whether it's your broker's conference or coaching conferences or whatever, or a bit of everything. There's so many ways to meet and build relationships with agents you have in common due to, these different things. And it's such a smart strategy that I would definitely be doing that, because you not only build relationships, but you're learning and you're growing professionally at these conferences and these events. And I think it's super important.
Shut up and listen.
Mm.
That's great.
Yeah, it's super good.
There's more questions here.
Yeah. So with regards to your online leads, where do they come from? Are you purchasing those leads, and why do you think you convert them at a higher rate?
So we use Brivity CRM for our, communication database. And through Brivity, you're able to do a multitude of things. Text, email, send listing alerts, send market reports. And what those things are is anytime a listing comes out, it'll get emailed. Now, granted, you could do that with your MLS where you can put them on an auto search. But what's great about this is the emails are branded. So they're constantly seeing your face. They're constantly seeing your brand, your logo. And then the market reports send them out any properties that have closed, went on the market, went pending, went expired. So they know what's going on in their neighborhood. So we tailor that for like the sellers. And
with your brand, right? With your brand?
With my brand, yeah. So with the logo and everything. Our lead sources, where we're getting our leads from online is Google pay-per-click, Facebook ads. We do a lot of Facebook ads. We were doing Zillow and Realtor.com at once, but we've cut those off in the past like 2 months, which my buyer's agent is like freaking out about. And I'm like, no, there's business. You just need to go out and like find it. And what else are we doing? Homelight, that's another, source of leads for us. But the bread and butter is really Google pay-per-click and Facebook ads. So what happens is as soon as we get a lead, it comes into our CRM.
Which CRM again?
Brivity.
Brivity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So automatically, as soon as a lead comes in, it gets text. It gets sent a text. 2 hours later, it gets sent another text. The following day, it gets an email, and then we call the client directly the next day. So it's a task that we have to go in and make sure that we do every single day. And they get communicated with like maybe 5 or 7 times within the first 3 days. So that's another thing is if you're going to start online leads, you need to make sure that you've got a great follow-up system, because you're not going to get online leads and they're just going to say, hey, yeah, I'm ready. The cycle for any buyer when you're bringing them in from online is probably about 400 days. So you need to figure out which day you're on in order to know how to convert it. So are they on the first day of their search, or are they getting ready to put in an offer? So you won't know that until you communicate with them. And we do texts, we do emails, we do phone calls to kind of figure out what is their, best method of communication. How do they like to be communicated with?
Anthony, she's speaking your language right now.
I could talk to you for hours, man, about this.
Me too.
You know what's crazy though? On this closing that I just had, and not to go off topic, but I'm just going to prove a point here. Everyone that's not doing video, this is why she has 75 closings. I guarantee you. The gal that we just closed, I said, what did you like about our experience? She humbly said, I love the videos. First time home buyer, very informative. I needed that, right? What did you dislike, if there's anything? She goes, I would have a reference of your videos because it was hard to go back. I'm like, great, done. We're going to implement that. I mean, so videos, awesome idea, amazing idea. So the concept that we're going over right here is that video content, email, text, video, voicemail, all of that, not any sequential order, but funneling out and have your workflow automation do that for you. That's a badass CRM. I've looked into it. That is what works, guys. I mean, there's no secret sauce, but making sure that you're disciplined enough to do those specific tasks on that day. That's what she's talking about, man. I mean, that's straight up, that's exactly what you need to do to convert. Elaborate about the 400 days. I missed that. What is 400 days? Typically,
So,
the buyers in an incubation and then in 400 days they're going to convert, or?
well, they say from different statistics done that a buyer's cycle on from when they first start looking for a home to when they finally put in an offer is about 400 days. So a buyer can start looking for a property this year, but not be ready until like next year, the year after. So we just average it out, but based on statistics, things that we've read, 400 days is really the key number. So you've got to figure out, are you on the 390th day of when you get that lead in? Are they ready? Or are they on the first day? So you need to know how to cultivate that lead, how to nurture, even if they're a year out. Ask them the questions. And we never, when we speak to leads, it's never trying to convince them that they need to buy right now. It's touching base with them. Hey, are you ready? And the texts and the emails that we send, it's not, are you ready to buy yet? Are you ready to buy yet? It's always something of value. Like, hey, I saw these properties in the neighborhood that you were looking at. Here they are. Let me know if you're interested. And then we give a call. Hey, just wanted to touch base, see where you are in the process. The rates are at this right now, just give them things of value. And little by little, the more you touch base with them, the more they see your brand, the more they see your logo, your name over and over again, and they'll recognize you, whenever they do go to convert and finally start the process.
I love that. Because that's right. Like, think about it. It's like the biggest purchase someone ever is going to make. They're not going to decide, okay, I'm going to buy a home and like make an offer the next day. Right. So usually they're reaching out, they're doing a little research online, and then they reach out to people they know. They might reach out to a realtor too. They might ask someone for a recommendation. So there's a process, right? They're going on Zillow, probably they're clicking and calling a random people, like as they go through the process. So you really need to, do you ask them questions to kind of gauge at what stage they're at? Or how do you, and then does your CRM, like, do you put them within a time frame within that bubble, like of what they're receiving, or does everyone get the same thing?
Yeah, so in our CRM, we can categorize them by either a nurture, a hot lead, a warm lead, which usually means they're about 3 months out. A hot lead, they're about a month out, so 30 days. And a nurture, they're 6 months plus. So we categorize them based on that. And it's really just asking questions like, I saw that you were looking for a property online. Are you, in the market to buy a home in the next 30 days? And they'll tell us, no, not really. I'm not really ready yet. We still need to save up for, a down payment. Okay, great. Well, did you know that, these days you could do a 3% down? Would you like to speak to our lender? And kind of figuring out like just open-ended questions to get them in conversation and get them talking, because a lot of times they don't know you at first. They don't know who you are. Why are they going to give you that information? So by constantly communicating with them and talking to them, you may not get them on the first try, but you'll get them a month later if you're, consistent with your follow-up.
Build a rapport, right? And then they'll open up.
6 to 9 attempts. What's ironic is that I parked, and when I parked to go to this closing at 8:30, I was on the phone with my marketing team in the Ukraine and Philippines, and we were customizing a nurtured lead workflow automated system right there. And it's funny that you said that, because how we're doing it is we're itemizing them by either income, assets, or credit, right? So if they have bad credit and they're in a nurture, now I know that's the pain point that I need to focus on. So I know the content I have to deliver. But this is exactly what we talk about on DC, and it's awesome that you're doing it, man. It's just, bless you.
Bless you.
You can sneeze, man. It's all right.
I sneezed on mute. Try not to interrupt the flow. And you guys didn't, didn't let me do that quietly, no matter what. I love that. So you mentioned on online leads, your realtor referrals and your sphere. So do you do anything in particular to nurture or check in with your sphere? How do you work that?
So this is like a whole other conversation. So we started our loyalty club this year in January, and it's pretty much like if you go to like a Nordstrom or like a Macy's, they give you rewards for shopping with them. We have done the same thing, and I did not create this. It's through my R&D department, my rip and duplicate. I read a book called Perk Your Sphere by Liz Johnson, who's also a KW agent out in Washington. And the book pretty much goes into what she has done in her business to convert her database at a much higher level. If they refer us business, and now if they don't have to refer us business that's going to close, but they need to refer us and give us somebody's name and number to call. And as long as we're able to schedule a consultation with them, they get a $10 Starbucks gift card that reloads every month for 6 months. And then in addition to that, anybody that has ever closed a transaction with us, anybody that's ever referred us business gets a monthly email every month of what the month's giveaway is. So next month we have actually it's this month, and I need to send it out today. So April's gift of the month is a garden tool set with some flowers or flower seeds, whatever. It tailors it to whatever the month is. Last month was scratch off tickets, like a pot of gold for St. Patrick's Day. And then Valentine's Day was something Valentine's Day-ish. So we created a loyalty club specifically for people that have given us business and referred us business. And the first month that we launched it, we got like 5 referrals just from sending out an email and saying, hey, this is what we're doing. And it's been great since. So we convert at a very high level through our loyalty club. In addition to that, we have I'm looking at my touch campaign right now. We've got a 65 touch campaign that is sending out newsletters. We've got 3 client events for this year. However, I don't know how that's going to go because of COVID. We've got emails, we've got drop-offs. So we're doing a lot, with our database in addition to the online leads. So online leads, they convert maybe 2 to 4% on average. So you get 100, you might convert 2 to 4 of them. We convert about 7 to 9%. But we can't count on that as our bread and butter. So our bread and butter really is the agent to agent and our database. And databases, I'm huge on communicating with them at least 60 times a year.
So the 64 touch, do you plan the 64 touches at the beginning of the year of what you plan on doing?
Yeah, we do it with our business planning in November. So last year we did it in November. We said,
I like this.
Yeah.
Anthony, we should do something like that. 64 touches to our referral, to agents that refer us. That's a good way to not forget to do it.
I have a 90 I have for the buyer side, a thing. I don't have a loyalty club thing, which I'm going to definitely go to.
I don't think compliance wise, I don't think you could do that. You or I.
We can't. Yeah. No, I think it's under $25 or $50, right?
Yeah, but for referral, I don't think. Anyways, that's a different conversation. RESPA regulates our businesses a lot harder than you guys.
Remember, this is recorded, but I'm joking around. I'm joking around. No, but the bottom line is we could give a Starbucks card or something,
Probably. We'll ask that compliance attorney we know. Add that to the list of questions. Always want to make sure we do things properly, right? But yeah, I love that. But 64 touches is a great way because it could be just events and a couple emails and a couple of this, a couple of that. It adds up fast, and especially if you plan it through the year.
I'll elaborate for the audience and everyone on Facebook watching. It's not 64 blast emails and text. talking about an overall of 64 touches,
Can you
right?
imagine if I sent out 64 emails, like people would be like spam, spam, spam,
You would be done.
block
So
after a certain time. But it
Who
is
is this lunatic? What's going on?
That's too funny.
it's so the 64 is it's a lot. So it is a mixture of drop-offs. We consider those a touch because and sometimes we don't even have time to knock on the door and give it to the clients. We leave it at the door and we text them and we say, hey, we left you something at your door. So that's a touch. An email is a touch, a text is a touch, and client events, you can knock out 4 touches with one client event. And the reason why is because you send out a save the date, you send out the day before, the week before, remember. The client event, the actual event is 1, and then afterwards is the thank you or sorry I missed you. So you can knock out 4 with those. And holidays, we do a lot during the holidays. So yeah.
And then
I
any
love that.
value market trends or anything like that?
No.
In the emails, you don't give any like market information in the emails. What do you
So
talk about in your emails? Boring.
Who wants to read about market trends? I don't know. Like
Because they're not in the industry, right? These are non-industry
Exactly.
spheres.
That's why I think like I always have to put myself as a consumer. Like, is the
Sure.
consumer interested in this? And I ask people, like, it's not like I'm just saying it's boring. I ask my spirit, I'm like, if I was to send you an email, would you read this? And they'd be like, yes or no. So, in our newsletters, what's going out is whatever events are going on in the city. So if there's like family oriented stuff, like cute stuff, then we put that into the email. Anything that we've closed, like any story that we have, like tell your story, tell a story about your people that you closed. So you have like a first time home buyer and they didn't think that they would ever purchase a home. You won against like 9 other offers. Put that story in your email, like let people be inspired by, what's going on in the market without sending out market statistics because they really don't care about that. They want to feel emotion. They don't want to read numbers. That's not what they care about.
Well, that's what I always say is emotion is going to sell. But what about like what I'm seeing on Instagram, a lot of is here's the restaurant of choice. Here's the nail salon. Here's the good school district. Would you send that type of content out?
We are in the process of starting to kind of collaborate with small businesses in the area. I have just not had any time. That was my Q1 goal, but it's been so crazy that I haven't had time to slow down and do so. But yes, that is definitely something that's great, is to highlight the small businesses in the area and collaborate with them because you want to be able to give back to your community.
I love that. I really love that. And like, that's the giver's game mentality too, of like, you promote, you shine on other people and they won't forget that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Sure.
I love that. I took like a lot of notes just now.
I got pages, man. You know what I like what you say is rip and duplicate.
Yes. Cause R&D is like research and development, right? But it's like rip and duplicate. I love that.
Research and development for sure.
So good.
So
I think there was a few. While you look up the questions, I want to ask, so you mentioned, reducing timelines and waiving contingencies if possible in the offers. Do you have any other strategies in getting your offers accepted when dealing with buyers? Because it's tough out there. I have a lot of agents like feeling discouraged because they can't get them in and signed.
So if you ever try to call a listing agent, and listing agents these days don't want to pick up the phone, don't want to text you back, don't want to send you an email, send them a video via text. Say, hey, just wanted to let you know, if you have to use a Snapchat filter, you totally can. Just want to let you know I'm sending you an offer. This is what it highlights. I couldn't get you on the phone, but that's totally fine. I just wanted to make sure that I introduced myself and let you know that I'm going to do the best of my ability to make sure that this deal gets closed, and send it out to them in a text. And I've had agents that have replied back and said, wow, I wasn't expecting that. So it definitely gets them to kind of perk their ears and
get in front of the camera, people. I know you hate it, but you got to do it. That's a good tip too, because they're getting bombarded with emails and texts and calls. So,
I'm getting
you
a
know,
call right now for a listing. I know
Yeah.
it's a listing and I can't pick it up.
yeah.
So, I mean, if I got a video, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to pay attention.
Yeah, so that's a good tip. It's a good tip if you're making an offer on Yara's listings. She'll watch your videos.
You better have a badass package, man. So quick, here's another question. Good morning. I'm in an inspection period. I just came out that the inspection yesterday has
It needs
the
roof.
needs a new roof. How do I get around this from the seller paying portion of that? I mean, what would you suggest them do?
For me, what would I suggest?
Yeah, I know
What is your position on repairs to begin with?
So if I'm on the listing side, no.
Right. I guess that's always, it's like, okay, well, sometimes, you know, because the problem by not getting them repaired is most buyers don't have the cash to do it later. It's got to be worked within the deal.
I mean, if it's a roof issue, one, did the appraiser spot it? Does it need to be re-roofed? If not, if it's during the inspection period, the inspector is saying that it needs a new roof. You know, try to, one, I would get a GC to quote me on what a roofer to quote me on what a roof would cost. Take that bid and send it to the listing agent, send it with the inspection report and say, hey, this is what came up on the inspection. We need a brand new roof and it's probably not going to pass appraisal and it's definitely not going to get insured by the homeowner's insurance. So we need a credit and this is the amount that we're asking for. I always overestimate. So, you know, kind of tell the roofer, hey, can you give us a few $1,000s extra? And it's just really room for negotiation. And you know, usually if they know that it's a bad roof, they've got like multiple leaks, it needs to be re-roofed. What are the odds that they're going to put it back on the market to get somebody that's going to come in and take a house that has a bad roof? Nobody wants a bad roof. So if they're in that position, you know, get the seller credit. If you can get the seller credit, great. Go ahead and fix it 30 days after closing, you know, and have the homeowner's insurance make sure that they note that and they'll come back out and they'll, you know, re-inspect after it's finalized. So that's what I would do. But in this market, it's so tough to get credits and things like that. So sending good vibes.
Yeah.
Really, really challenging situation. What I would personally do in that situation is if the seller doesn't have funds to fix anything, then I would patch it up and get a roof certification just to say that it's got life expectancy. So now you're going to pass the underwriting aspect of it. So that way afterwards, the credit that you receive, you can use for a new roof.
That's good. Yeah.
I mean, that's a challenge, man. But yeah. Good question and answer.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. So you gotta, are you gonna play any April Fool's jokes on any of the buyer's agents? Not just kidding. I'm not accepting your offer.
We actually got a few offers on a listing yesterday, and I'm like, should I you know, kind of play April Fools on my seller? But
that's too funny. Yeah, it's not too nice. People, it's a high stress situation, so we don't want to do that. Yeah. So guys, we have probably time for one more question if anyone else has questions. But I definitely want to thank you, Yara, because there was some really good nuggets in here and I took some notes and I've talked to you about them before, but never like this detailed. And I really, really, really like what you're doing. I think it stands out. I love it. She dropped off, what was it? Wrapping paper in December, right? Did you do that? I love that idea. That was one of the drop off time. I love that. That's so smart, right?
Thank you for helping us wrap up our year.
For the holiday gifts, like as you wrap up your year, here's a little wrapping paper.
So many people say, oh my God, I needed an extra roll of wrapping paper.
We always need extra rolls. You know, you don't think about it until you have to actually wrap. And then you're like, oh crap, I don't have any more wrapping paper. So I love that. You're being great, really creative and it's definitely something that, you know, keep it up because you're killing it.
Thanks.
Right.
Someone asked, do you include reports from RPR or IMAP? I don't in the appraisal packet. All I include is so Broward County BCPA or any other county, the property tax appraisers printout.
Perfect.
And the MLS printouts.
For easy reference.
Yeah.
I love
What
that.
you said is key. You're not up the, you know what, with that appraisers, you don't want to be in their face, man, because now you look desperate. And it's like, at the same time, they're not going to give a crap what you say. They're going to do their job. And I feel like a lot of agents do that, and they're walking by side up the stairs with the appraiser. It's nuts. I mean, it's not going to sell a house. So what you're doing is effective. That's the way I would approach it if I was an agent. So I respect that completely.
I love that. I love that. So if someone wants to reach out, how can they find you?
Yes.
They can reach out via Instagram. It's probably the easiest way. Home
All
Sweet
right.
Home with Yara.
Yeah, we already had it put in the chat. I'll put it again for you guys to
my,
follow.
Email as well. Yara at the SoFlo Homes Group.
So we're starting to grow our following to outside South Florida. So if you're not in South Florida looking for a South Florida agent, we got Yara here. She does great things. I've seen her. I actually have seen her work in action. So she does a great job serving her clients. So it's always a pleasure. So with that, I think that's a wrap, right, Anthony?
Yeah, that's a wrap, man.
I love it.
Appreciate
Thank you.
everything.
Thanks,
Thank you.
guys, for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time. Let's have an amazing rest of your day. Happy second quarter. Happy April 1st. Happy Easter.
Yes.
Happy Passover.
Finish the week
All that
strong,
stuff.
man.
Yes. Let's do it, guys. Have an awesome day. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.